Good morning. It is Wednesday, April 29th, 2020. Remember, we are working in Letterbook J, and J makes the sound J, J. Today we're starting on page 7, and you'll notice we have some illustrations. One thing you'll notice about our illustrations, they're in a circle. We're going to be telling a story and moving around our circle to look at the illustrations as we walk through the story. Our story is going to be moving counterclockwise. So if our story went this way, this is the way that the hands on a clock move. We say it's clockwise, but we're going this way, which is counterclockwise. So we'll be moving to the left. We're going to start at the house, and then we'll move over to the left. See if you can see really closely there's a name on our house. Let's sound it out. J-A-K, J-A-K, Jack, Jack, Jack. We see CK at the end. Do you remember our rule? CK comes at the end of a word after a short vowel is heard. So we hear J, A, short A, K, Jack, Jack, Jack. The name of our story is The House That Jack Built. So we're going to start right here at the house and move around our circle as we listen to our story. This is the house that Jack built. This is the corn that grew around the house that Jack built. This is the rat that ate the corn that grew around the house that Jack built. This is the cat that chased the rat that ate the corn that grew around the house that Jack built. This is the dog that worried the cat that chased the rat that ate the corn that grew around the house that Jack built. This is the cow with the crumpled horn that tossed the dog that worried the cat that chased the rat that ate the corn that grew around the house that Jack built. This is the maiden all forlorn that milked the cow with the crumpled horn that tossed the dog that worried the cat that chased the rat that ate the corn that grew around the house that Jack built. This is the man all tattered and torn that kissed the maiden all forlorn that milked the cow with the crumpled horn that tossed the dog that worried the cat that chased the rat that ate the corn that grew round the house that Jack built. This is the priest whose head was shorn that married the man all tattered and torn that kissed the maiden all forlorn that milked the cow with the crumpled horn that tossed the dog that worried the cat that chased the rat that ate the corn that grew around the house that Jack built. This is the rooster that crowed in the morn that woke the priest whose head was shorn that married the man all tattered and torn that kissed the maiden all forlorn that milked the cow with the crumpled horn that tossed the dog that worried the cat that chased the rat that ate the corn that grew round the house that Jack built. This is the farmer that sowed the corn that fed the rooster that crowed in the morn that woke the priest whose head was shorn that married the man all tattered and torn that kissed the maiden all forlorn that milked the cow with the crumpled horn that tossed the dog that worried the cat that chased the rat that ate the corn that grew round the house that Jack built. And that is the story of the house that Jack built. Now, get your pencils and we're going to answer some questions about the story that you just heard. This was a repetitive story. Did you notice that we kept repeating the same sentences over and over as the story continued? So we should be pretty familiar around it. All right, let's listen for this first question. Which animal ate the corn that grew around the house that Jack built? Draw a line under the animal that ate the corn. So we're going to draw a line. Who do you think we're going to underline? Right! The rat ate the corn. So we're going to put a line, straight line, under the rat. All right, here's your second question. Who are the two people who got married in the story? Draw a big circle around the two people who got married. Who got married? Do you remember? The maiden and the man. So we're going to do a 2 o'clock dot and draw a picture around them. They're the two that got married in our story. Which animal worried the cat? Do you remember who worried the cat? We're going to put an X on the animal that worried the cat. Yes, you know how dogs are always picking on cats. We're going to put a big X on our dog because he is the animal that worried the cat. Yes. All right, here's your next question. Which animal with the crumpled horn who gave milk to the maiden all forlorn? Which was the animal with the crumpled horn who gave milk to the maiden all forlorn? We're going to draw a box around that animal. So we're going to draw a square. Which one was it? It's the cow. So remember, we have to stop our pencil to draw a square. We're going to draw a square around the cow. All right, here's the next one. Which animal woke the priest in the morning? We're going to put a circle around the animal that woke the priest. Of course, a rooster. You know, a rooster crows as soon as the sun's up. So we're going to do a nice 2 o'clock dot around our rooster. What had Jack built? Put an X on what Jack built. What did he build? Right, the house. So we're going to put a big X on the house. And those were your listening questions. So give yourself a check for great listening, and we're going to turn over to the next page. On the next page, we're going to be talking about something new. We're on page 8 and 9 of our letter book, and it looks like this. And we're going to fold it back and just look at this page first. We're going to look at page 8 first, but I want to talk to you about something before we do that. So what we're learning about today are called quotation marks. And there's a little set of marks that sit at the top of part of a sentence. And we call that quotation marks. This is part of what we call punctuation. You've learned the period, you've learned the question mark, and you've learned the exclamation point thus far. But today we're introducing quotation marks and how you see a quotation mark in a sentence. So to use quotation marks, we also need to revisit a sight word that we've learned because we typically see this when we see quotation marks. So the word is said. And I want you to learn that as a sight word so you don't have to sound it out. But if we were to sound it out, I've written it the way you would sound it out. So we're going to see short vowel E. A-I makes the short E sound. Se-ed. Se-ed. Said. But I want you to learn that as a sight word. I don't want you to have to tap it out. I want you to just be able to say said. All right, let's read the first one together. It is hot. So I want you to know that someone is speaking. So I'm going to use these quotation marks up here, and that means that someone is saying these words. Let's figure out who said these words. It is hot, said Mrs. Coffrin. So Ms. Coffrin told us that it was hot. So we write our sentence, we put quotation marks, we have a comma that sits inside the quotation marks. Then the word said, Mrs. Coffrin. That means that tells the reader that someone is speaking, that they are saying these words. Let's read the next one. I like, sneaky E is making I say its name. I like hot dogs, said Adeline. Adeline, I didn't know you liked hot dogs. Here are our quotation marks. Those are the words that Adeline actually said. We've got our comma, said Adeline. The period sits right here on the very end of our sentence, just like it normally would. All right, we've got one more to read. Run fast, said Grant. Grant's telling us all to run fast. So his actual words were run fast. So they sit inside the quotation. Then we have the comma, said Grant. So when we see quotation marks, that is someone talking. That is their actual words. And it's usually followed by the word said. So we're going to look at page 8, and some of our characters from our story are going to be talking. We've got Tig, Doll, there's Ted, and there's Ed. Let's read the sentences at the bottom of page 8. Let's pack a picnic, said Doll. I see our quotation marks in pink and the word said is in pink. Remember, that tells the reader that someone is speaking. All right, here we go. Fill up the big basket, said Tig. Quotation marks, word said, Tig. All right, each character has a thought bubble. We've talked about thought bubbles before. They tell us what is in the person's mind, what they're thinking about. And so over Tig, I see a duck eating a sandwich. There are 2 ducks eating a sandwich. Over Doll, I see a pitcher of lemonade. And over Ted, I see a watermelon that's cut into slices. And last, I see Ed, and there's some, I don't know if you can see that, hot dogs and some buns over a fire. We would call that maybe a grill. You might be grilling them. All right. You're going to be reading some sentences, see the quotation marks, and said, and you have to write the character's name that said it. So let's do the first one together. I must cut the lemons, said, who has lemons in their thought bubble? Doll, right? So we would write capital, because it's her name, D, lowercase O-L-L. I must cut the lemons, said Doll. I want you to see if you can read and do the rest yourself. So you'll either be writing Tig, Doll, Ted, or Ed, depending on who said it. So you know how to spell their names. We've used them in the letterbook many times. I want you to do that. Write the person that said the sentence. Then I want you to go back and read every sentence to your parents. And remember, these little pink marks are called quotation marks. Sometimes we do that with our finger to mark the quotation marks. They sit at the top of the sentence, and we usually follow that with said. We'll be writing a little bit in our journal this week using quotation marks and said to help us out. All right, you're going to be doing 7, 8, and 9 today, and I will see you tomorrow. We're first going to have a little bit of information about the environment and how to take care of the environment. And then we're going to have our letterbook story tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.